Hi, I'm Brandon Nielsen. I want to talk about how to create your own comic book, okay? And this is gonna be a series of a ton of videos. So you will see a lot of like a video like almost every day talking about how to create your own comic book. And I'm gonna start the foundation, like starting like a bare bottom, just start from scratch completely and build our way up to a complete physical comic book. So I made this Achievement Man. This is my own original character, okay? And and I know how to draw, I know how to color, I know how to add text, I know how to write. Kind of, I believe I do. And I know how to design characters, and I know how to create a story, right? So in order to make this, I'm going to teach you how to make your own comic book. And in order to make your own comic book, you have to have a protagonist and antagonist first, okay? You have to write them down first. That's the most important. And sorry that I'm not using sign language. Usually I use sign language, but when it comes to stuff like this and drawing pictures, I just can't do sign language. It's just not possible. You have to watch it from here. And so I can show everything. It's easier to show it that way. And so I'm putting out like captioning, on the bottom, just in case, So now, to create an original character, okay, before you make a comic book, you have to keep in mind to not, there were mistakes that I have made in the past when it comes to creating comic books. These are the reasons why I couldn't make them back then, because it was so impossible, so hard to get it done, especially if you're going to do it all by yourself. Okay, so mistakes were, don't create an ensemble. Okay, that's a mistake. I mean, what I mean is creating an ensemble full of characters is a mistake. That's what I'm trying to say. Is my advice is don't create an ensemble, because it has too many protagonists. And yes, there can be one protagonist and, other supporting characters. I get that. Kind of like X-Men. But if you read the X-Men, there's not really a true protagonist there, isn't there? And, whatever protagonist you think, that's, most people are going to think that one character a protagonist and the other isn't. Like Wolverine or Cyclops or Jean Grey or Xavier. These are not some people are gonna think differently on which one is the true protagonist in X-Men. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's just too many characters to go over. Not enough pages, right? And you don't have enough pages to write this, and you don't have enough time. Okay, you don't have the time to be making that, and so the origins will be missing. Okay, you'll miss a lot of origins, and there will be a lot of plot holes because some origins are missing, and because you're creating too many characters, some origin stories on each character are going to have a lot of plot holes, and so it's not a good idea. And also, a huge lack of character development will be more apparent in the ensemble type of book, the story. Kind of like X-Men, Suicide Squad, like James Gunn's Superman from last year. It's an ensemble film. So the backstory, the character development is super weak because he was using too many characters. Big mistake. Never do that. Yeah, because of the lack of character development, the story is not as impactful. You know what I mean? There's no impact with the story, with the ending, and with the character that you're rooting for. The impact is not as strong because it's just too weak. So, as a solo, like for a solo protagonist, you're getting stronger, impactful story. Okay, now moving on to other mistakes would be too many villains. Okay, too many villains will create a weak story. Perfect example of this would be Spider-Man 3, where it had too many supervillains in that film. Even though it wasn't that many, but it was too much. Same thing with Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, which had like Electro and the Green Goblin and some other. It makes a very weak story, very weak ending, and it's rushed. And some origin stories are rushed because you're trying to get it all done in one story. It does not work. You should just stop doing that. Stop. Just one villain, that's good enough, okay? So, because of too many villains, you're not getting one solid direction towards the end. So it's always different directions. And it's like 3 different stories into one story. It's not good. You can't have that, you know? It's not a linear story. It's like, you know, like different possible outcomes. Too many outcomes. And because of too many outcomes and villains having different goals, they don't have the same goal. Maybe, you know, like defeating a good guy, but that's just corny and weak and not that creative. So just make it linear. You know, one villain, one superhero. Period. So that's my advice to you when it comes to creating new comic books. Now, another advice I would give you is do not think about how many issues you will create for this protagonist, this character. You know, like you're saying, oh, I think I'll make like 30 issues for this character. That's what I plan to do. You cannot think like that, because when you think like that, then your first book is going to be incomplete. You're going to have an incomplete story. And because you're thinking ahead too much and you're going to do too much. And before you know it, you're gonna give up in about like 3rd issue or 4th issue. If you're lucky, you might make it up to 6 issues. You're still not gonna finish the rest of it because of that, the origin story is very weak and it's too long. It drags on, and generally, people don't like the continuation of a story. Like, you know, they read one book and then they have to wait until the 2nd book comes out, and then they have to wait for the 3rd book come out to actually complete the story. It's very half-assed, in my opinion. I'm having this problem right now. I have issue number 1 right now. I printed out the first book of 2. See, it's part 1 of 2. And it's kind of a mistake for me, because I wish I had done just the whole book and get it done. And that makes it one book, one whole complete book. I'm doing this as an experiment, and I am not selling anything. It's not selling it because now people don't want to read it because it's half-assed. Okay? People don't want to read a half-assed story. Just complete the whole book. Complete the whole story, period. So just do that. Now, so only worry about the first issue. Again, only worry about the first issue and worry about completing the first issue. And focus on actually finishing that first book of yours, okay? If you do that and you finish it, you have more confidence to make more afterwards. if you like how it is going. But right now, just start with the first book and don't go any further. Don't do too much and things like that. So now, before we create the characters, you want to get the idea of good versus bad. Okay? So, to help people is good. Okay, I'm going to start with the good, okay? The good is to help people. The bad is hurting people or not help. Good is tell the truth. That's a good thing, right? Bad is lying all the time. Good is giving back things, right? Bad is stealing. Or the opposite of stealing would be working hard to achieve that. Just to work hard to achieve that. I forgot to write that down. I think that would be better. It's just to work hard to achieve that goal. And the opposite of working hard to achieve that goal is stealing. You just steal to get there. Finding shortcuts to get there. That's bad. And good is sparing lives. Bad is killing. Good is out in the open. Nothing to hide. Bad is hiding. Good is gentle. Bad is abusive. Good is boring. I'm sorry. It may be considered bad to you, but a person who is boring it's not bad at all in real life. And bad is chaos. Do you really want chaos in your life, or you want boring in your life? I would rather boring than chaos. Okay? I want a stable lifestyle. Boring is good. Chaos is bad. So, anyway, that's my opinion. So anyway, that's how I did. And then now you create a character for good and character for bad. And which character fits that? That helps fits the mold of their morals, like just the personalities of each of these characters. Now, my mistake was that I created a superhero first. That made it very hard to create a good story. The easiest way is to create a supervillain first. Okay, so in order to do that, you need to create an antagonist first, which is a supervillain. And so the antagonist, generally, he's more powerful than the other bad guys. Okay, so that makes him a leader, right? You can pick any bad guy, and they're all the same. You want something that stands out, that's a little bit above like the henchmen. There's a henchman that have similar goals, similar minds, and the one on the top above them would be the leader. Okay, usually, the henchman would have the leader, and the leader is the most powerful. It's obvious. So that's how it works. Now, you create a theme. It's hard to explain I don't know how to describe this, but you create, like, pick out off the top of your head, like some kind of animal or chemical or anything that seems to have like a bad reputation around it, according to that thing or animal or whatever it is. That's really bad. It has bad reputation and like surefire 100% that's bad and not good. So when I put out a list. So any living thing or non-living thing that's unpleasant to most people. Okay, so for example, venom, poison, blood, fire, knives, toxic chemicals, mosquitoes, bed bugs, vampire bats, anything that has a negative annotation to it, like anything that's bad, that seems bad to you, and you want nothing to do with it, like jail, that's bad, a paradise, that's not bad, that's good, There's the opposite. Uh, they're on the opposites. You don't want anything that's bad, and in order to create a superhero, you make that superhero the opposite. I will go over that in a moment. Now, moving on to pick which ones you hate the most and which one scares you the most. I just gave you some examples. You can come up with anything that's bad and that you don't like. It doesn't matter. Just come up with it, and then you pick two or maybe three of them that are really bad, and then combine it, and that creates your own supervillain. Okay. So I picked as an example. I picked just for fun. I picked mosquito and sharp things. So like knife, needles, sharp teeth, that kind of thing. Sharp things. I don't like sharp things. I don't like mosquitoes. I hate them. So I put them that two things. I picked out two things I don't like in my life. I just don't like those things. And so now let's create a villain using two bad things. A mosquito, which I picked, a mosquito with needles, and it has a venomous substance as a form of attack. It loves to steal blood, and it also kills. Okay, so moving on to how is the villain more powerful than other villains. Remember, like I mentioned, he needs to be a leader. And in order to have the henchmen for a superhero to kick their asses, and in order to get to the top, you see the boss of the henchmen, and that boss is the supervillain, basically. So that's how it works. So this boss is a villain that's faster than others, maybe, and smarter than others, knows how to manipulate people, and uses threats and lies a lot to get ahead. Okay, that's a supervillain. That's not a good. Those are bad. Some good ones like smarter than others and faster than others. That's not bad. But to manipulate people, that's bad. Uses threats, that's bad. Lies a lot to get ahead, that's bad. So his bad personalities, bad qualities makes a supervillain. Now, the gender of this villain is, I always pick a gender, and it doesn't matter which. Sometimes I would pick a female, sometimes a male, but this time I wanted to stand out, make it different, unique. So the gender of this villain is a transgender, and the reason why I pick is because a transgender is a liar. It's a person who lies about the gender and lies about everything. Okay. And not only the gender, but everything else too. So a very perverse person, a very demented person, and dangerous person. And so, and this person draws blood from his victims. And it is a man pretending to be a woman. So, it's a man who lies to other men who are interested in dating this man. Because at first, they look at this man and thought, wow, that's a beautiful woman. And then they come together alone, back into the apartment or something, back home. And, this villain undresses himself. And the victim is like, wait, you're not a real woman? And the man attacks. It's just something. It's a liar. It's a bad liar. Just a liar. This is a liar that does not inform ahead. Tell them like, hey, listen, I'm a transgender. There's nothing wrong with transgenders. There are some bad people who are gay, bad people who are white and straight, bad people who are black, bad people who are Asian. It doesn't matter. There are bad people in all forms of looks, like all forms. They can be bad and evil. It doesn't matter. And so I picked a transgender because it's unique. So now this transgender is a very beautiful man who looks incredibly convincing as a female. looks very female, very, very gorgeous. And he strikes needles on his victims in order to make them follow him. That's how he became into a leader. He kills a lot of victims too in the past who refused to, because they refused to do what he wanted them to do, and when they refused, he kills them. And so that's how he threatens the current henchmen. He tells them, "I'll kill you if you don't do what I tell you." And so, and in his needles, he has venom in his needles. So I don't know what kind of needles. We're gonna go over that. So now, in order to create a protagonist is the opposite of it's the opposite to the antagonist. Okay, so what are opposites to the antagonist written above? So let's do a chart again, and you can see the chart. It says antagonist here and protagonist here, and this one is reversed gender, and protagonist is true gender, and antagonist is beautiful looking. Protagonist is ugly looking. Kills. Antagonist kills. Protagonist doesn't kill. Antagonist venom. Protagonist anti-venom. Sucks blood. Heals. Sharp. Soft. Has powers. Has no powers. And so that creates your superhero right here. The superhero is the opposite. Right? There are some things that are not bad. There's nothing wrong with some things like killing and sharp and has powers and being beautiful looking. Nothing wrong with that. There's just nothing wrong with that. It's just the opposite. So we can make a better story. It's easier to make a story that way. So now, moving on is generally, and I do know this, is antagonist births protagonist. So an antagonist generally made the protagonist. They created the protagonist. Okay, not the other way around. It does happen, but when it comes to an origin story, it's very easy. I mean, I wouldn't say easy. It's just easier. It's easier to create a good story when you have a protagonist who is eager, who has a motivation to defeat the antagonist. And this one should be where you are rooting for the protagonist. Okay, I'm trying to create a story that makes you hate the antagonist. This is the bad antagonist. Bad. And so, antagonist caused a tragic story of the protagonist. Okay, and then the protagonist grows up to be antagonist. Protagonist faces his fears, needles and mosquitoes. That's his tragic story. So, and it's mosquitoes and needles. Now, how does a protagonist be an antagonist? Okay, use the opposites of two fears. Okay, we're gonna create a new superhero here. This is where you create a new superhero. So, a mosquito, the opposite of a mosquito is a dragonfly. Why I said that? Because dragonfly eats the mosquito. They're opposite. Okay, they don't drink blood from the victims. They eat the mosquitoes that drink blood from the victims. Okay, or it can be a honeybee. A honeybee does not draw blood from any victim. It eats nectar in the flowers, so very harmless. It only attacks on the defense. So honeybee is very friendly and something you would rather have than mosquitoes. And the needle is sharp. It's a needle, right? And it's round. And the opposite of a needle would be round or a hard surface. So when you use a needle, needle can't penetrate or, they cannot penetrate hard surfaces generally. Only soft surfaces, not hard. So dragonfly eats a mosquito, right? And needle cannot penetrate hard surfaces. And honeybee feeds off nectar, okay? And remember what I mentioned, soft and needle, they go together, okay? So I said soft here. See, right here, let me move over here. Protagonist, soft. That means his skin is soft. And the needle went into his skin. He didn't like that. And so, in order to not be soft, he had to wear a hard surface. Now, we're getting somewhere. Now, superhero versus supervillain. Superhero is a honeybee dragonfly hybrid. Whatever, just come up with something. And then supervillain is a mosquito with needles. Alright, now designing a superhero. When you design a superhero, he wears a mask because he's ugly. That's a good excuse, right? For him to wear a mask. And he can wear a helmet too to protect his face from the needle stabbing onto his face. And when you think about it, that can be a good story to go over. Because he's ugly, his face got deformed from all the needles getting into his face. And he got bruises all over his face, and he had to be taken to the hospital as a kid. And ever since, he had irrational fear of mosquitoes and, needles or whatever. So maybe like super powerful, super powerful robot mosquitoes that attacked people and killed people around him. Just create something, a tragic backstory for the superhero. That's how you create a good story. So anyway, he wears a mask because he's ugly. He wears a full body armor, of course, to protect himself from the needles. And he has wings on his armored suit. So, honeybee and dragonfly, they both have wings. And he looks like an armored insect. So, that's going to be a pretty cool looking superhero already. Now, moving on to designing a supervillain. Oops. So, when you design a supervillain, long hair and zero beard, I'm talking about the villain that I'm writing about. And so, this is supervillain, has long hair and zero beard, because he looks like a girl. He has a very beautiful face, wears makeup, and he wears girly business suit. He wears high heels, reddish skin, and green hair. I use green hair because he has venom in his nails or whatever, or his fangs or something sharp, and it has venom in them. So green hair is a sign of, like a toxic, like venom. And has long nails. And he sticks very long tongue to suck blood. So it could be his tongue that's giving venom to people, to victims, or his nails. I would say his nails would be better because it has venom inside. I would say maybe his tongue would be better. I don't know. I'll think about it. And now, when it comes to designing supervillains, henchmen, his hooligans, they wear similar outfits generally, and the theme is there. It's a mosquito with needles. So they all have to wear mosquito masks. So the reason why I said that is because when I was drawing a comic book here, this one here, I was drawing the henchmen in this comic, and it's really, really hard to, I'm currently working, not in this one, but in the other one. See all these henchmen right here? These are the henchmen. they all have very diverse looking, appearances. They're all diverse. There's a problem. They don't have the theme. Because I couldn't come up with the theme. And so I was just drawing each character with very different looks. And it's very hard. It took me way too long to get this done. It's faster, quicker. If you draw the characters, all of them look very similar. They have, body types like maybe a little bit skinny, and some are a little bit chubby, and some are muscular, and some are tall and short, but they all have the same look, same design. It's much easier to draw them that way. Way easier. Let me show you another example. A perfect example would be the absolute Batman, right? I want to show you a good example because I came across this. See these guys right here? They have similar look, all of them. These henchmen, they have the same look. They're wearing the masks. And these masks are like skulls, right? These are skull masks. It's very easy to draw them that way because now you're just drawing the guys with similar outfits and the masks. And they're different guys, obviously. But it's easier to do that. You can see? So that's how it works. It's easier to draw it like that, especially for artists. So you have to do that. Very important when it comes to, a comic book. They all wear similar outfits. Same thing in Arkham video game. They wear different, they wear the same outfits because they have similar themes. Like Two-Face had his own henchmen, and his henchmen were wearing like half the face red and half the face white. Those were his henchmen, and the other henchmen would be like the Joker's henchmen. They're wearing, clown masks on, and they had clown masks on. It's so much easier to draw them that way, and clown costumes. If you do that, it's easier to draw them that way. Other than just drawing like completely diverse outfits, diverse looks, which is extremely difficult to do. It took too much brain power for me to draw them. It's just, you have to create new character and then new character and new character. It's just so hard to do. I do not recommend that. So it's easier to, draw each similar outfits. No, I gotta shut up about this, but it's really important. You have to keep that in mind. So yeah, mosquito masks, and they all wear high heels and business suits. So there you have it. That's set. Okay. Now you're ready to design the characters. That's the most fun part. And when you design the characters, it's easier to draw a character first. And then you come up with a name for this particular character. Because of the way he looks. Okay? And so, I'm going to start with the face. Generally, I start with a bigger face. I use a bigger face like this. It will be on the side like this. And then I use a full body. Just frontal, full body. And it shows full body design of the character. So, to start with a supervillain, I don't know the name of it yet. But I'm just going to design it. I'm just making it up as I go. Okay? And so, now, let's see. So, designing a supervillain. I'm going to take this off. Use this as a little note. So, designing a supervillain is going to need long hair and zero beard. So, always first start with a base. I do a quarter view because it's easier to see. Like, you can see the ears and the back of the head and the front. It shows everything if you do a quarter view. If you do like a full frontal view, it's hard to see the side. What the side looks like or what the back side looks like. So that's why I do a quarter view. So now let's start with the body. Now I had to redesign the high boots. I think the knee high boots would be better. You know, just kind of show more skin over here, so it stands out more. It looks more like not your typical female character. This is not a female character though. It can trick you though. So yeah, that's dude. And now the hands, I want the hands to have long fingers, so I'm gonna have to take one hand out. And now the face, it's gonna be the same face, but in action. This character is gonna be sticking the tongue out. Something different. The name for this character, I'm terrible with names, so I have to think about it. It would be maybe Mr. Mr. Or no. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of a name. You have to come up with a name. So I open up the name. So something that's bad. It has venom. So she has venom. She has claws. Long tongue. The claws are poison. The tongue is venomous, maybe. I don't know. I have to go. We'll go over that in the story part. But right now, the overall design. That's what it looks like. Let's see. I'll call it the pretty. It's gonna be mosquito. This is a mosquito. The mosquito sticks. This sucks blood, right? The mosquito. I'm trying to think. Let's see. Mosquito. Pretty mosquito. Mr. Guido. Mr. Guido. Mrs. Guido. Mrs. Guido. How about that? Something creative for the name. Mrs. Guido. Let's try that. Mrs. Skeeto. Mrs. Skeeto. Sounds like mosquito. Mrs. Skeeto. Mosquito. Oh. Yeah. Mosquito. That'll work. I don't know why I said Mrs. She's not married. It's not a man. I mean, it's a man, but not married. So, he would call himself Miss. So, Mosquito. Mosquito. Perfect. Yeah, that'll work. So that's the name for this character. Mosquito. She sucks blood and drains the blood out of her victims. And the victims have no blood in them, so they look like shriveled up, shriveled up potatoes or something like that. Just so shriveled up. So I think that'll work for a supervillain. Yep. So that's it for supervillain. The next one will be superhero, and I will be talking about that in the next video. It went on for way too long, and it's gonna have to be broken up into several hundreds of videos probably just to make a comic book. It's a lot harder than it looks, guys. It's not easy to make a comic book. You think making something like this is easy? No, it's not easy. Especially when you're trying to create new characters and try to make a more creative story for the character. So that's very important. So just keep that in mind. Now, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. If you're curious about this one, definitely subscribe to this. And I will be posting not only this, but everything else. I'll be talking about superheroes, comic books, and art, and how to draw beautiful faces and things like that. So I'm just doing this right now, and there will be two different what do you call them, groups. One will be how to draw beautiful faces, and another will be how to draw how to make your own how to make your own comic books. So like, if you want to know how I did this, I will teach you how to do that. How to make your own comic books, your own characters, your own stories, and how to get it published, how to copyright it, all that stuff. So I will be teaching you all of that. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button if you can, like the bell button. And, hope I see you again the next time. Thank you for watching.